light. As they strode into the arena, Bane realized that though his heart and spirit recognized these beings as the august Celestials, to his eyes they had utterly changed. He had always before beheld them in the guise of animals, but it seemed that today they had chosen to adopt different incarnations. Chi-Ji, the Red Crane, bringer of hope, had assumed the appearance of a slender, thin-boned blood elf. His long hair was a shade of fiery red, and what Bane had taken for a golden cape proved to be folded wings. Zhuan, the White Tiger, whose temple this was, embodied controlled strength in the fluid movement of his pale blue human body, his hair and skin streaked with black and white stripes. Bane was honored to see that the indomitable Black Ox, Nuzao, had chosen to appear to mortalize as a Tauren. He moved his white head as he surveyed the visitors with radiant blue eyes, every clop of his glowing hooves seeming to echo. The wise jade serpent, Yulon, had taken what initially struck Bane as the most peculiar incarnation of all, that of a Pandaren cub. Even as he thought this, Yulon's magenta eyes found his, and she smiled. It was true wisdom, he realized, to appear so gentle and appealing that all would want to come to her. The four Celestials made their way to the north, where Zhuan normally sat holding audience. Bane felt calmness and clarity that had been missing descend upon him. He exhaled, closing his eyes briefly in gratitude simply for their presence. Everyone was still, waiting eagerly for word. But the Celestials did not speak. Instead, they turned to look expectantly at a figure that had just entered the temple. He wore dark leather armor, and an image of a snarling white tiger adorned his right shoulder. A wide hat and a red cloth across the lower part of his face would have concealed his identity, had not everyone present known whom to expect. Terran Zhu, leader of the Shadowpan monks, bowed awkwardly, grimacing slightly, and approached the center circle with a supple stride that belied his age and his rotundity. He bowed again, once to each of the mighty, silent beings, then regarded those gathered. "Welcome," he said. "Today I speak for the Celestials, and I say to you, we receive you with grateful and humble hearts. I would ask you all to take a moment and acknowledge this sight, never before seen in this world. All those who serve as leaders in the Horde, and all those who speak for the peoples of the Alliance, are gathered here today. No one among you carries a weapon, and I have instructed that a dampening field be put in place to prevent any untoward use of magic, even the summoning of what you call the light. All of you are here for a united purpose, just as you have joined together for greater purposes before. Please, for a few breaths, look at your dear friends and your honorable enemies." Bane looked first to Anduin, a face he knew would not be twisted in hate. His eyes moved to the stern visages of the dwarves, the furry mien of Gen Greymane. Verisa looked as if she was clenching her teeth as well as her small, strong fists, and he wondered if Jaina knew how easily her own unhappiness and resentment could be seen. As the minute of reflection stretched on, Bane saw some tense features relax. Others seemed to grow more impatient, on both sides. Terran Zhu continued, "Below us, in a prison well guarded, resides the one whose fate you have come here to learn." Garrosh had screamed. Bane swallowed, straining for the words. He could feel the tension in the air, smell the anger and fear and anxiety. But the placid monk would not be rushed. You were told that Garrosh Hellscream's fate would be decided today. This is completely true. The Celestials do not lie, but neither have they revealed everything to you. After much discussion and meditation, they have come to the conclusion that Hellscream should not be tried solely by them. All have suffered because of Hellscream, not just Pandaria, although its people suffered indeed. He placed his paw on his midsection, where Gorehowl had bitten deeply not long ago. Therefore, you deserve to be involved. His guilt is beyond question, but we will hold a fair and open trial to determine his fate. One that both Horde and Alliance will conduct, with the possibility of a reduced sentence. Perhaps even liberty. Uproar. Bane couldn't decide who was shouting more loudly, the Horde or the Alliance.
Trial? He bragged about what he had done. He deserves death. He has brought it to so many. Let's put all the Horde on trial. We know what he's done. The whole world knows it.
Zhuin's eyes narrowed slightly and his voice rang out, bell pure and sword sharp. There will be silence in my temple. He was obeyed. Satisfied, he nodded to Zhu to continue. The august Celestials do not disagree that Garrosh Hellscream is guilty of terrible, grievous acts. I repeat, that he committed crimes is not in dispute. What must be decided now, however, is the manner in which these crimes are to be addressed. It is not that he must be accountable, it is how. And the only way to do this is through a trial. In this way, you, Horde and Alliance both, and any other voices who have aught to say, will have a chance to be heard.
And yet the Celestials will still be judge, jury, and executioner, will they not?
This came from Lorthamar Theron. Bane had no doubt that the Blood Elf's ability to work together had been tested to the limit. No, friend Lorthamar, said Terran Zhu. The Celestials have indeed offered to be the jury, but are amenable to other ideas. I would be honored to serve as Frashwa, as judge. The Celestials are wise beings and wish true justice, and I have come to know many of you who stand before me now. Duly elected representatives from the Alliance and the Horde shall serve as accuser and defender, according to ancient Pandaren law.
He is already guilty. You said so yourself, said Varisa. How can there be a defender and an accuser, then?
Beware. The defender will argue for a more merciful sentence. The accuser, of course, will argue for a more stringent one. You may select whom you will, and the other side has one veto. I personally veto these entire proceedings, snapped Gen Greymane. Garrosh Hellscream led the Horde against our people and slaughtered them like a butcher. If we agree to have a trial, let's have a real one. For every leader in the Horde. At best, they stood by and let it happen. At worst, they joined in, or... And here he shot Sylvanas a venomous look. Even instigated their own attacks. A chorus of angry agreement arose. Bane was sorry to see that Jaina appeared to be among the dissent. That would take quite a while, said Terran Zhu calmly. And not all of us have long lives. The Alliance, spat Gallywix, shouldn't be involved at all. Garrosh should be tried by his peers,
to ensure he makes proper compensation to those of us he wronged.
Mekatork laughed without humor. Monetary compensation, you mean?
That would be an acceptable form, yes, said Gallywix.
Taranju sighed and raised his paws for silence.
The leaders of the Horde and Alliance must decide.
Are the terms as I have presented them agreeable to you, War Chief Vol'jin, and you, King Varian Rin? Troll and human regarded one another for a moment. Then Vol'jin nodded.
Celestials seem to have a better view on things like this than us who be down in the middle of it. And you be honorable, Taranju. I prefer to be getting a voice and not having a decision just handed out. Horde agrees.
So does the Alliance, said Varian at once.
You will be taken to a place where you may choose your defender and accuser, replied Taranju. Remember, one veto only for each side. Choose wisely and well.
Chief Firepaw, who had been standing off to the side, now approached Vol'jin and bowed deeply.
I will take you to one of the side temples, where there will be braziers.
His broad, furred face split in a grin, and his eyes twinkled.
And refreshment.
The Pandaren was as good as his word. 15 minutes later, Vol'jin, Goel, Agra, Vayne, Eitrig, Varrock Sorfang, Sylvanas, Lorthamar Theron, and Jaster Gallywix sat on a carpet that, while not ornate, insulated them from the chill of the stone. Meat and drink were provided, and the promised braziers warmed the air. Vol'jin nodded at the food.
Talk be wiser when bellies be full, he said.
The food was consumed, and of course, this being Pandaria, there was plenty of beer to wash it down with. Once everyone was settled, Vol'jin wasted no time getting down to business.
My orc brothers and sister, you know how much I be respecting you. But I think if we want to have Garrosh defended by an orc, we be making sure the Alliance gonna veto us.
Goel nodded.
It is deeply regrettable that Garrosh has fallen so far that he has brought a whole race with him in the eyes of others. Nothing an orc defender can say would be taken seriously, for good or ill.
Vayne disagreed.
On the contrary, I believe it might be good for everyone to see an orc behaving with honor during so public an event. Eitrig is known for his calm manner and wise head.
But the old orc was shaking that wise head even before Vayne had finished speaking.
Your words mean much to me, High Chieftain, but Goel is right. I, and he, and Sarfang will have our chance to speak if we wish. Taranju has promised us, and I believe him.
I will defend Garrosh, said Sylvanas. It is well known that he and I disagreed. The Alliance could never accuse me of going soft.
You be a great accuser for Garrosh, that much be true,
Vol'jin said.
But we be looking for a defender.
Come now, War Chief, Sylvanas said. No one here wants to see Garrosh leave this place for any destination other than the Executioner's block. You know this. You yourself once said...
I know what I once said better than you, Sylvanas,
Vol'jin said, his voice a low warning.
And you were not the one being left for dead with a slashed throat. I know what all of us here suffered under his rule. But I also know that the Celestials be looking for as close to a fair trial as mortal beings can give. I think there be only one proper choice for the job. Someone respected by both the Horde and the Alliance, who has no love for Garrosh, but who never gonna lie.
or do any less than his best. He turned to Bane. For a blissful second, Bane simply thought that the troll was turning to him for his opinion. And then he understood. "Me," he bellowed. "By the Earth Mother, Garrosh slew my father." "You make the war chief's point for him," said Lorthamar. "Despite the wrongs Garrosh has done you personally, you were loyal to the Horde until such time as you believed he was harming you too. The Alliance has plenty of spies, and you have a good history with the Lady Proudman." Bane turned to Goel, his large eyes pleading with the orc to intervene. Instead, Goel smiled. "The Tauren have always been the heart of the Horde. If anyone can defend Garrosh and be listened to, it will be you, my friend." "I don't want to defend him. I want what you want," Bane snapped. "Garrosh has earned death 100 times over." "Make them listen," came a voice that had hitherto been quiet. It was deep, strong despite age, and a sharp thread of pain ran through it. "There is no challenge in flinging a list of atrocities at Garrosh's head," said Sarfang. "The test will be who can make the judge and jury truly listen. To hear you speak for calm consideration when all know how you suffer. Only you can do that, fair mortal. I am a warrior, not a priest. I do not fill my mouth with soft, pleasing words or play on heartstrings." "Garrosh is a warrior too," Goel said. "For good or ill, you are as close to a fair representative as we can muster." Bane champed his teeth and turned to Vol'jin. "If I could be loyal to the Horde and my war chief when that title was held by Garrosh, I can certainly be loyal to you. You have always been worthy, Vol'jin."
"Beware."
"I be not ordained," Vol'jin said, placing his hand on the Tauren's shoulder. "You need to follow your heart on this." Things were not turning out the way Sylvanas Windrunner had designed. Not in the slightest.
"Beware."
First, she had hoped, as every member of the Horde, even soft-hearted Goel obviously did, that they had been called here to decide which of them would perform the coveted task of slaying Garrosh, preferably slowly, and while inflicting a great deal of pain. Varian Rin had already averted that pleasant outcome for too long, and to hear that the Celestials wanted an all-out trial was ludicrous. Even they and Terranju admitted that Garrosh was guilty. The very notion of justice and not acting out of revenge was far too nauseating to be worth the time and effort expended. Sylvanas reflected that the only saving grace was the hope that she might at least be able to speak and add her truth to the sky-high mound of evidence at Garrosh's shortcomings. She was also pleased that Terranju was the Pandaren chosen as Fashwa. He was, she mused, probably the only Pandaren who would accept a death penalty. Most of the others, she had observed, would have simply bundled off Garrosh and poured beer down his throat till the orc drunkenly sobbed that he was sorry. She did not expect to be chosen as the defender, and knew that Vol'jin was right to say that she would make a better accuser, if nothing else. But Bane, the most placid warrior she had ever seen, bred from a race of gentle people, madness, all. Bane had more of a reason than even she to wish Garrosh dead. The orc should have been Bane's own personal Arthas, and yet she knew the Tauren would, if he accepted, probably argue so well that everyone would want to give Garrosh flowers instead. Bane's ears drooped as he sighed heavily. I will undertake this task, he said, though I have utterly no idea how to achieve it. Sylvanas had to exert a conscious effort to keep her lip from curling in a sneer. Chi poked his head in. The Alliance has chosen their accuser. If you are ready as well, we can reconvene in the arena. They followed him back up the snow-dusted trail. The Alliance representatives were already there, and turned to regard their Horde counterparts. Taranju waited until everyone had arrived, then addressed the two groups. Each of you has made your decision. War Chief Vol'jin, whom have you selected to defend Garrosh Hellscream? Defend Garrosh Hellscream. The very words were an offense. We choose High Chieftain Bane Bloodhoof of the Tauren people, Vol'jin said. Alliance, do you have any objection? Varian turned his dark head to look at his fellows. No one spoke. Indeed, as Vol'jin had predicted, many of the Alliance seemed pleased. To Sylvanas's disbelief, Varian's spawn even had a small smile. The Alliance accepts the choice of Bane Bloodhoof, who is known to be honorable, Varian announced. Taranju nodded once. King Varian, whom does the Alliance put forth to serve as accuser of Garrosh Hellscream? I will serve in this capacity, Varian replied. Absolutely not, Sylvanas retorted. You are done ordering us about. She was not alone. Other angry voices were raised in protest, and Taranju had to shout to be heard over them. Peace! Peace! Despite the literal meaning of the word, his voice was commanding, and the cries subsided to mutterings and then dwindled. War Chief Vol'jin, do you exercise your right to reject King Varian as accuser? Varian had few friends among the Horde. Many distrusted his apparent personality change, and even his refusal to occupy Orgrimmar had won him only grudging acknowledgement. Humans were the enemy, would always be the enemy, and Sylvanas could see that the Horde's displeasure with the trial in the first place would only become sourer if they had to watch Varian speak as accuser. It seemed as though Vol'jin saw this too. Yes, Lord Taranju, we gonna exercise our right to veto, he said. Oddly, the Alliance didn't try to argue them out of it. Sylvanas was on alert at this reaction, and her mind seized upon the truth of the calculated trick even as the name of the accuser was announced. Then our selection as accuser will be High Priestess Tyrande Whisperwind, Varian said smoothly. Tyrande Whisperwind. Of all the races, even humans, the Night Elves hated the Orcs the most. Rightly so, given their love of nature and the Orcs' desire for building and war material. Sylvanas was initially outraged, then found herself wondering for a moment if this really was as bad a choice as it seemed. Most of the Horde would have preferred to accuse Garrosh rather than defend him, as Bane's reluctance had demonstrated. But as Tyrande's glowing eyes swept over the Horde, Sylvanas saw no empathy for their plight. Tyrande was a priestess, but she had also fought her share of battles. Taranju continued to speak, describing how Pandaren law dictated the trial's points of order and in what manner they would unfold. But the Banshee Queen turned a deaf ear to him. Well played, Alliance, she murmured in her once native language. They only fronted Varian, knowing we would veto him so they could get someone even more determined in his place, in case any of us had lingering affection in our hearts for Garrosh, came an answering voice in the same tone. I do not think they quite understand that we hate him as much as they do. Sylvanas looked over at Lorthamar, lifting an eyebrow. The Sindarai leader had always been polite, but coldly resentful whenever Sylvanas had approached him to forge unity, keeping his precious dignity even when coerced. Did this conversation in Thalassian signal a shift? Was he perhaps smarting from being overlooked for leadership of the Horde? She has no love for Garrosh, Sylvanas continued. She has no love for the Horde either, countered Lorthamar. I wonder if Vol'jin will regret not taking Varian when we had the chance. I suppose we must wait and watch. As we ever do, said Sylvanas, curious as to how he would respond to the implied partnership. He did not seem to hear, instead bowing to someone on the Alliance side as the various representatives filed out. Sylvanas turned to see who it was. Of course, Varisa and Lorthamar had encountered one another recently. Her sister's courtesy toward the Blood Elf leader surprised Sylvanas. She was even more surprised when, after acknowledging Lorthamar, Varisa deliberately met Sylvanas' eyes for a long moment before turning away.
2, 1.
It was the first time the Moonrunner sisters, two of them anyway, had seen one another in years. It would naturally be somewhat emotional for Varisa to see Sylvanas again. But there was neither bitterness nor sorrow in Varisa's face.
2,
There was
1.
only grim resolve and a pure satisfaction. And Sylvanas had no idea why.
Four, 3, 2, 1.
3. Bane's chest loosened as he set hoof once again on good Mulgore soil. He had felt constricted the entire time he was in Pandaria. He took a deep breath of the clean, fragrant night air and sighed it out. The shaman Kador Cloudsong was waiting for him. It is good to have you home, Cloudsong rumbled, bowing deeply. It is good to be home, even for so brief a time, and for so somber a
I am the
task,
blade of
Bane
the light.
answered.
All
The
DL
dead are always with us, Cloudsong intoned. We may
Fight
grieve
well.
that we do
I'll
not
take
have
this
the
Draenor
joy
back to
of their
Castle.
physical presence,
Stop that orc from
but
opening
their
that
songs are in the
We will
wind,
return with
and
help.
their laughter in the water. Would that they could speak to us and give us advice, as they once did. The thought made Bane's chest ache again, and he debated the wisdom of deliberately reopening this old wound. He trusted that Cloudsong would have dissuaded him had the shaman believed his request unwise. They do speak, Bane Bloodhoof, though not in ways that we are used to hearing. Bane nodded. His father, Cairn, indeed, was always with him.
Worthless.
Bane and Cloudsong were together at Red Rocks, the ancient site where fallen heroes of the Tauren were sent to the Earth Mother and Sky Father via cleansing flame. Set a slight distance away from Thunder Bluff, Red Rocks was aptly named, a naturally occurring formation of red sandstone. It was a peaceful and reflective site, where one could step out of the world of Thunder Bluff into a place that served as a transition between that world and the next. Bane had not been here since he had said farewell to Cairn. Now, as
is much we can learn here. Come back in one piece.
Loktar Ogar, champion. Our spirit will triumph.
going on down there?
Loktar, Commander. Rise up, Frostwars! Avenge the murder of your chieftain and reclaim the honor of our clan!
What good are a handful of slaves against the Black Rock war machine? black rocks. Crush them!
You three, follow our champion onto the battlefield and listen for my call. I have a plan.
We are yours to command.
Much more time! Everyone, get to high ground!
Who's there? Roll. Tell me, what do you see? Run with the pack.
Oh, well now, I'd say we made an impact.
How are you? Watch your back. Fire away! Have a good one!
Have you seen my wrench anywhere? May your flame burn bright. There she goes. How can I help you? Oh, wait for it. Kerplow! Oh, wasn't that the prettiest thing? Keep those irons in the fire. What's on your mind? Off with you. Have you seen my wrench anywhere? May your flame burn bright.
Just get me free, stranger. I could kill 100 of these pigs with this shovel alone. by the spirit of my father. I will make them pay!
You must listen to the land. Be cautious.
For Azeroth.
Pleasantries can wait. Remain vigilant.
Fire away! Keep those irons in the fire! You do the fighting, and I'll do the fixing. Now, let's get up on that tank! Look back there! I think we can climb up those chains! See the controls! How can I help you? good one. Fire away. Orcs off the starboard bow!
Looks like we arrived just in time.
Hop into that turret and keep them away! I'll see if I can get this thing going. Kagna, buy me some time!
We will do what we can, Thalen. Hero, keep these orcs off of us!
Nice shot!
Tank coming over the rise! Look out!
These controls don't make sense. Remind me never to drive a tank built by an orc.
Hold strong, everyone. Here they come.
Bringing up explosives! Destroy those cunts before they get close!
many of them.
Don't you give up yet, Paladin.
That's it! I've got her running! Let's finish this!
Are you so eager to meet death? Look then upon the countless faces of your demise. Rise up, Iron Horde! Bring your war chief their heads.
How can I help you? Keep those irons in the fire! Have a good one! That danged army should be here any minute! Let's move!
The docks. Run to the docks! Run! Run!
Come at me, Hellscream!
Don't be a fool, Gana. Run! We will fight another day.
Look out! Keep moving. I see the ships ahead.
Where now? Head for the ships at the end of the road. This way! Go! Go! Go!
There is no place to run, outsiders! This is my world! We will find you! We Frostwolves will be waiting for you, Hellscream! You! Your ogres! Your whole Iron Horde! You're as good as dead!
Observe and reflect. Let's get underway then. We will need to build a stronghold if we hope to end the Iron Horde threat. And we're going to need help from the natives. To the home of the Frostwolves!
axes down, brothers! Don't you recognize your own clan?
We are home.
The Bladespire ogres threw me into that hellhole. I'll notch my axe with their skulls until vengeance is mine!
This land needs you. You bring honor to our clan. Spirits walk. My eyes may not work, but the familiar chill of the air is comforting.
You mentioned the Frostwolf chieftain.
Ah yes, Garat's youngest, a noble soul named Durotan.
Durotan.
Wise beyond his years, but still young. I fear he has been thrust into the bronze jaws. Our people are in great danger.
Drekthar, old friend, you are alive.
I can barely stand, but for the actions of these heroes, I would be dead.
Soul, stranger. It is best to turn back.
souls of the damned, rise. Rise in the name of darkness. Rise in the name of Ner'zhul. The Shadow Moon beckons.
These are champions from a faraway realm, pledged to fight the Iron Horde.